The defending champs are brutal at challenging balls and strikes. Maybe that's exactly what spring training is for this year.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rogers. And it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, Dalton Rushing and James Tibbs III are making noise this spring, and it might not just be spring noise. Gavin Stone's comeback just hit turbulence, and that has real implications for the opening day rotation. But first, the defending champs are struggling with MLB's new automated ball strikes challenge system. And Travis, so far, the early returns, the numbers are ugly in them.
We might have found something that they're not leading the league in. We finally found the 1 weak spot for the Dodgers. We'll talk about that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Dodgers, which is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTheShow.com/LockedOn and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone.
Every weekday afternoon, Travis is live from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA as part of the Travis and DeMarco Show. And whether you're in SoCal, out of state, or on the go, the ESPN LA app makes sure that you never miss a beat. When I'm not behind the mic calling USC football games in Espanol, this is where I post up. Dodgers baseball, daily conversations, real breakdowns, all of it built with you. If this is your first time dropping by, welcome. You're exactly where you should be. And if you're an everydayer, you already know this show runs on your energy. Are you watching on YouTube? Huge favor. Smash that like button, jump into the comments, and subscribe so you're locked on every single day with us. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, please, a quick 5-star rating helps spread the word to more Dodgers fans. And remember, if you ever want to be a part of the show, the Locked On Dodgers listener line is always open 24/7, 365. It's 2793-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Drop a voicemail or a text any time of the day. All right. The defending champs are the best in baseball, but the worst in challenges. The Dodgers are at the bottom of MLB when it comes to ABS challenges this spring. I first saw that stat on Sunday night, and I was like, no, it can't be. And then I dug deep even more, Travis, and it was real. Through the first stretch of games, the Dodgers won 3 of 14 challenges. That's barely over 20%. The league average, over 50%. That right there is not a small gap. That's a canyon.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Like, and I guess the good news is that even with the numbers that you just mentioned, Harry, that's still a relatively small number. That I think it's going to have to take months before we get an idea of who's really good at this and who isn't really good at this. It's the proverbial small sample that until you have, hundreds, if not thousands of data points, I think that the numbers are going to swing wildly. I think that, a team like the Dodgers, who's all the way at the beginning, you get 3 or 4 in a row right, and you spring right back up into the middle of the pack. So we'll see what happens. But this is not just one of those, it is odd. And I think that maybe this is something that they talk about. Maybe this is something that they figure out how they want to use these challenges, when they want to use these challenges. It's funny. I know that I tend to be kind of blasé when it comes to spring training stuff, but I think this is a good example of something to experiment with, of something to figure out when to use it, who is good at it. I know we're going to listen to Oral, and he's going to talk about who he thinks should have kind of the final say on some of this stuff, when you should do it. I think that using it early in the game and something other than a egregious miss is really risky. But it is odd that you have so many Dodger players. And again, a lot of the guys that are going to be in the regular lineup have not been in the regular lineup during the spring, but it is a very peculiar thing that a team that is so good at everything has gotten off to such a bad start at this.
No doubt about it. And for those of you that don't know, MLB is rolling out the automated ball strike challenge system this season, also known as ABS. We've seen it before in minor leagues. We saw it last year in spring training, but now we're going to see it for the first time ever in regular season action for Major League Baseball. So each team is going to get 2 challenges per game. If you win it, you keep it. If you lose it, it's gone. And then if a game goes to extra innings and you're out of challenges, you get 1 per inning. And you can challenge a ball or a strike. The people who can challenge it, pitcher, catcher, when it comes to the team that's throwing the ball, and the batter that is up at the plate. Nobody from the dugouts can go up, hey, challenge that. Or somebody through the headset to the catcher be like, challenge that one. No, that's not allowed. It's just those 3 people who can ask for the review by tapping their helmet. So you brought it up, Travis. You were talking with Oral Hershiser at Legends Attic not long ago during Topps Rips night, and you brought up this topic. So let's hear from someone who has been out there and had some calls go his way, some not go his way, and what he thinks about the situation.
ABS.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm here for it. I want, because from what I've seen in spring training, from what I've seen in the minor leagues, it's fast. We do this. We go to the grid, and it's like, okay, strike, ball, whatever. We keep it moving.
Yeah.
As a pitcher who would,
I don't think pitchers are going to be allowed on the Dodgers as of right now. I think that listening to Dave Roberts' media scrums, I think he's going to leave that up to the catchers
and the hitter,
and then maybe the hitters. And I think they have to establish what kind of strategy they're going to use with the hitters.
Okay.
I think it's going to be in the first 4 or 5 innings. I'll bet you it has to be really obvious or really a key situation where it could change the game.
Okay.
And then I would think later in the game, there'll be guys against the same thing. Key moment, and you think it's a ball or a strike, and you're the catcher or you're the hitter, you got permission to go for it. But I think guys are going to get graded on how well they think it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Pitchers are moving their head, they're throwing it, and everybody doesn't land, without vibration and without their eyes moving.
Sure.
And we want it to be a strike, so we have a bias when we're looking in there.
Do you think that a guy like, let's say, Freddie Freeman, who knows the strike zone incredibly well,
right,
gets just a green light? Like, if you think they missed one, do it. Where maybe somebody that's a little more of a free swinger is like, here's our strategy and here's how we employ it.
Yeah. I think if I was Dave and Dave asked me, what do you think? I think I would do all of that with individual instruction.
Okay.
I think you could create some chemistry issues with certain hitters possibly.
Yeah.
And certain egos that, how come Freddie has it and I don't? Or how come Mookie has it and I don't? Or how come Ohtani has it?
Because they're going to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I think they're going to establish their own records.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting in spring training to see how they use it. We've had game 1 at the time of this interview and they win 15-2.
Yeah.
I don't think they needed ABS today.
No, probably not.
So I think it's going to have a lot to do with context.
For sure.
There's the man, Oral Hershiser, speaking on the ABS system, and I think he has a great point when it comes to pitchers. Yes, they are up on the mound. They can see the strike zone, but they're throwing the ball. They're moving. There's not a specific situation where they end and they can have a clear view of the strike zone and where the ball lands and that. So I feel that there could be a situation where it's exclusively the catcher doing the challenges when it comes to when the Dodgers are pitching and the batters. That's going to be very interesting, Travis, because if you lose one early in the game, you're in a very tight situation later in the game where it's like, oh man, I want to challenge it, but what if something comes up in the 7th, 8th, or 9th?
Yeah, I think that Oral's spot on. I think the idea of having the pitcher challenge it is not a good idea. It's just, you're not looking at it down the tunnel. The catcher's sitting behind home plate and watching the ball come in. He knows where he's set up. He knows where his glove is. He knows if he's moved a little in, out, up, or down. So he's got a pretty good idea of what that strike is. A pitcher is on one leg, tilted off to the side. It's going to be a much harder call for him. So I like that idea. I also like what Oral said about, look, let's have a strategy across the board. I'm sure, like in the back of his mind, Dave Roberts is 100% okay with somebody like Freddie Freeman doing whatever he wants. The problem with that is if I give Freddie Freeman a green light, just say, go do what you want. And all of a sudden I'll just pick someone else like Teoscar Hernandez, for like, hey, wait a minute, I've been in this league for a long time too. Why can't I do it? And that could create some weirdness. So I understand why you don't do it like that. I think the strat, and maybe this is what the Dodgers are doing this spring, is they're figuring out exactly when to do it, because short of it costing you a run one way or the other, I think that you have to really kind of back pocket these things until late in the game. You never know what's going to unfold. Now, if it's a ball that's, 8 inches off the plate, sure, tap your hat and get it right. And if you are certain that you're going to be right, go ahead. But if it's one of those, hey man, I think that missed the corner and it didn't, now all of a sudden you've taken one off, and now when you got second and third and nobody out and they ring you up in the 8th inning and you don't have your challenge left, that's a big problem. So I think it's a work in progress. I think they'll figure it out. If I know anything about the Dodgers, they will have a system in place where they will get better at this as the season goes along. And I'm sure they'll find a way to be good at this the way that they're good at everything else.
Yesterday, I saw a clip from another game where it was like the outside corner, the lower one, where they challenged it as it was a ball. It was called a ball. It was challenged for a strike, and it missed by 0.1 inch. It's hey, but that's like, hey, you want it to be right. It's right. So it's good to see the Dodgers. It's incredible. If you had to guess who had the right ABS challenges, you wouldn't even guess it for the boys in blue. Alex Call, Alex Vesia, Wyatt Mills.
Yeah.
And I saw games where Freddie Freeman challenged one that was called a strike and it was a ball. Will Smith challenged one that was a strike, a ball, and it got a strike and it was called a ball. I was like, hey, it's going to happen where even the best think they saw something and it's not the case. Of course, for us, it's easy, Travis, watching it on TV where it's like, oh, that's a strike. And it's like,
for sure.
Called a ball. But being there, it's different. You've been there before. Would you like to have this in the past or no?
I think, as a quite sure, I would like to make sure the calls are right. But there are times where I was convinced the ball went across the plate, and you get back in the dugout, you'd ask your catcher, was that a strike? And they're like, it's not even close, dude. No, you missed by a full ball. I think that I don't know if I want to say it's the best, but I think one of the most interesting parts about this is, as fans, we're going to have a whole nother layer of things to dissect and criticize and second guess, because why did you use your challenge in the 3rd inning when you needed it in the 7th inning? So I think that's another element for fans to get excited about, just that whole, do you or don't you moment in these games.
Yeah, and right now it's the perfect time. Spring training. When you're wrong often, you double down and you adjust and you figure out a way where it's like figure out a system. There's teams that are coming in already with a system to spring training on how to challenge, who's going to challenge, and when. The Dodgers aren't in that situation yet. And if they are, they haven't shown it on the field or talked to the media about it. So let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks for the boys in blue. And this matters because in a playoff game, one missed challenge could flip an inning big time. Sure. All right. Next on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers' potential opening day rotation just took another hit, and it involves a name that was supposed to be a part of the solution.
All right, how cool is this? Let's talk about one of our newest sponsors, MLB The Show 26. It is the greatest game in baseball, and it is back with its newest installment. Baseball fans are going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from the game. Here's how good MLB The Show is. I like watching my kids play this game. It feels like you're actually watching a real baseball game. They're going at it. Of course, they snipe each other over who gets to be the Dodgers. Somebody's always got to do it. So they are all in all the time. They can't wait to get their hands on MLB The Show 26. It feels like you're at a real game. It's competitive like a real game. You can play with your favorite teams. You can play with legends. And it's just the fan experience all over again. You can also live out your dream of being a player in Major League Baseball in the show's career mode. So if you are a gamer, a baseball fan, or you just want to enjoy America's pastime in a new and exciting way, you're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite player, play as your favorite team, franchise players, and see if you have what it takes to win your very own World Series. Here's how you do it. You go to MLBtheshow.com/locked-on and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. You can pre-order right now. It's available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. It is rated E for everyone. Go do it right now.
It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers. Emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to our Discord group chat, and other listeners of the show will be able to interact with you as you with them. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedondodgers.supercast.com to join this community. Gavin Stone's comeback just hit pause. This one hurts. Gavin Stone entered spring with something to prove because after shoulder reconstruction wiped out his 2025 season and cost him valuable time, he came into camp healthy and competing for a rotation spot with Blake Snell being out of the picture for opening day. But now he's been shut down, or as Dave Roberts said, paused with the way that it happened, because after a scoreless Cactus League inning and a bullpen session, Stone experienced discomfort in his surgically repaired shoulder, and the team has paused his throwing program, and there's no timeline yet for when he'll resume it. Travis, it's better to catch it early than later, but at the same time, when it comes to a guy that missed a full season due to an injury to the shoulder, to be paused because of it, in my opinion, it's a bit concerning.
Yeah, I agree. This is the stuff that comes out of spring training that makes you go, ugh. This is the stuff that you're hoping not to hear. These are the hurdles that a player coming back from injury are hoping to clear, and he didn't. I mean, the first time that he really ramped it up and went after hitters in a somewhat meaningful situation, and he came up sore again. Now, pause does not mean shut down. It means pause. So I think there is some silver lining in all of this, but I think it's like, a lot less silver lining and a lot more gray clouds in there. They figured out how to do elbows, right? The Tommy John procedure is very effective. The Tommy John surgery, they've been doing it for 1,000,000 years. It works. Guys come back. They're better than ever, et cetera, et cetera. Shoulders are a little trickier. They're still trying to figure out how to get that done in a way that is as effective as the Tommy John surgery. So when you hear a guy with a shoulder problem, it's to me at least a little bit more concerning than you hear somebody with an elbow issue. They can survive this. I mean, obviously the Dodgers have a lot of options along the way. I just feel bad for Gavin Stone because he had such a good 2024 season. I know that they were hoping to get him back into the mix for 2026, and doesn't mean that he won't, but it just means that they're going to have to wait a little bit longer at best to get him back in there because, like they say, you can never be too rich or too thin or have too much starting pitching. And so the Dodgers have one less arm, at least as you sit here in early March, that you can count on.
Yeah, and the part that hurts, in my opinion, is that I always want to see that next homegrown guy in the Dodgers rotation. Fernando in the 80s, same thing with Oro. You go over in the 2010s with Kershaw, with Walker Buehler. It's awesome being able to get these guys on 9-figure deals like a Blake Snell, like a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who are studs. But I always like having one of our own guys in that rotation. And in 2024, he led the Dodgers in innings pitched. He posted a mid-threes ERA. He looked like a legitimate rotation piece for the future, not just depth who you could look at other pieces right now that are competing for that sixth spot in the rotation and be like, okay, it's just depth that you have. No, this guy was looking as a frontline starter for the Dodgers, and now with his absence, even if it's just a paused one, I don't see him being a part of the opening day plans, and the rotation picture gets a little bit tighter. Blake Snell, he's not expected to be there on opening day. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, it's a question mark to see how he keeps evolving with his throwing plan during the World Baseball Classic. Shohei Ohtani, same case. He threw out there in Japan, but just in a bullpen session. He's going to try to keep extending and stretching out, but is he going to be available to pitch for 5-6 innings on opening day or during opening day? I don't know. Let's see now what happens for the Dodgers, because it's Roki Sasaki, Emmett Sheehan, Justin Robleski, River Ryan that are the options, but we went from, Travis, you say it every day. Our everydayers know it. You never have enough pitching in the team, and we just lost a couple of arms for opening day right here. First, during the weekend with Blake Snell. Now, with in this case right now, with a very talented Gavin Stone.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said at the beginning, because I think it's a good point. The idea of having homegrown guys. Yeah, it's fun to have homegrown guys. It's fun to see a young guy come in, drafted by the Dodgers, developed by the Dodgers, given a chance by the Dodgers, and thrive as a Dodger. That's fun. The other part, Harry, that is maybe even more meaningful in it, they're cheap. You don't have to pay them. And look, I get it that the Dodgers have this incredible economic might that they can go, like you mentioned, go sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto for $300 million. Go give Blake Snell a 9-figure contract. That's great. But the reason that you can do multiple of those is because you also got some guys that make the major league minimum, or they're not arbitration eligible, or they're just getting started in their career. Homegrown guys are cheaper, longer than free agency guys. So I think that's a huge part of it as well, that's one less inexpensive option that you have. And the other thing is, and look, the Dodgers have an incredible wealth of starting pitchers, but there really isn't a single one of them in that entire run that is without question marks. Gavin Stone and Blake Snell, we've talked about the last couple of days. They're probably not going to be ready for opening day. Okay. Yamamoto's coming off of a season where he didn't miss a start, pitched a ton in the postseason, and he's already kind of hitting it pretty hard, getting ready for the WBC. So start the clock on when he needed to take some time off. Ohtani is Ohtani. You never quite know what his pitching regimen is going to be, right? Tyler Glasnow, do we have to add anything to that? He constantly misses time. Now, when he pitches, he's awesome, but he misses time. Emmett Sheehan, good pitcher, but kind of untested as far as being an everyday guy in your rotation. Same for Justin Robleski, River Ryan coming back from an injury. So while they have 8 or 9 options, none of those options are without question marks. So it really is an interesting time. They're going to be okay, but it's just one of those things that there isn't this guy's going to give you 200 innings and this guy's going to give you 200 innings. There's nobody in the rotation that you just feel like that's 200 innings in the bank. They all have question marks.
And we go to a quick part where we talk about the rotation, where the 6-man rotation is something that has been talked about frequently, knowing that you have a guy like Shohei Ohtani in that rotation, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, who aren't used to the 5-day swing that there is in Major League Baseball. The good thing, Travis, is that if you look at the printable schedule that is available, and not just like opponents and when the series are happening, no. In April, the Dodgers have 4 days off. That's 4 Thursdays where you don't have to figure out, okay, who do I fit in here so I can give Yoshi enough time off, or Shohei enough time off, or Roki enough time off. That is huge. It's the most amount of days off in any regular season month, with the exception of July. And the only reason why there's more time off in July is because of the All-Star break. So that's huge for the boys in blue, because Stone could have fit the role perfectly for the boys in blue, but now they have to pivot. The good news is that the depth is real. The bad news is that the depth gets tested very, very quickly here at the beginning of 2026. And that leads us to something much more encouraging, because while the rotation has questions, 2 young hitters are making statements. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, a backup catcher and a 2024 first-round pick are turning heads in camp.
college basketball nonstop. We're talking big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. Doesn't get much better than this during college basketball season. We're talking early tip-offs, late night West Coast shootouts. There is always some action on that board. And right now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Here's what you do. You build any college hoops parlay that you want to build. Talking rivalry games, ranked matchups, long shots, whatever you are feeling. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see this slate of games playing out. Then you apply your profit boost and you instantly bump up that potential payout, right? Go safe, sure. Go big, go bold. Ride with the team you've been following all season. Jump on a new squad that you see is playing hot right now. It's your parlay, your style, and now with even more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
MLB opening day is almost here, and you can feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, and that first crack of the bat. Whether it's a breakout rookie or a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being at the ballpark for it. The only problem? Getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. Well, that's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The seat views feature is huge. It's my favorite because you can see the panoramic view from your exact seat before you buy. It's simple to use. Plus, the Game Time guarantee means that you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rogers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Rushing and Tibbs are forcing the conversation. Let's start with Dalton rushing. Last year was not easy for him. Travis, you spoke with him mano a mano, face-to-face at Legends Attic, and he got called up in May. His playing time was irregular pretty much for the first time in his life, and he was adjusting to major league pitching, learning how to stay ready without everyday reps. And when he finally had his opportunity, when Will Smith got injured, he got injured as well. So he just hit over 200. The on base wasn't where he wanted, and the production was inconsistent. But he also won a World Series, and now he looks a little bit different. With Will Smith, especially now being temporarily away for the WBC, rushing is going to be getting consistent spring at-bats, and he's taking advantage so far. The big question mark, Travis, is, okay, what happens when Will Smith is actually back at play for the Boys in Blue?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that this is one of these. This is really good news, but it's also something that I don't know if you could be overly excited about. The good news is he's getting at bats. The good news is he's taking advantage of it. That's all he can control. I think this is one of the things that is really challenging for the young players on the Dodgers. It's really challenging for any young player, but on this team in particular, at-bats are hard to come by. Innings are hard to come by. And when you get them, the pressure to perform is real. That you know that if you're Dalton rushing and I'm going to get one start a week, that's 5 at-bats I might get that night. If I go 0 for 5, I got to wait another week before I get, 5 more at-bats. And sure, you might get a pinch hit appearance here and there, but it's just not the same as getting some regular looks. So the more he can convince the Dodger brass, whether that's Dave Roberts or Andrew Friedman or Brandon Gomes or whoever it is, that he can hit in the major leagues, that he can hit major league pitching, the better. That's more time that they're going to allow him to develop on their squad. here's the other thing for a player like Rushing, and I'm not trying to shove him out the door at all, but if he tears up spring training and does really well, and someone else decides, hey, that guy's never going to play for the Dodgers, I need him here now. Now the Dodgers can flip it for other things that maybe they do have a little more need for in the short term. So I hope he plays for the Dodgers. I really liked him. I think he's a really interesting young player. I think he cares a great deal. I think he's competitive. I think he's incredibly skilled. I just don't see a spot for him anytime soon. And that's really, really difficult. But, he's doing everything he can to put himself in a position to succeed. But sometimes this stuff is just beyond the player's control.
No doubt about it. And Dave Roberts said there's no more outfield experiments with him. He's a catcher for the Dodgers. And right now, a backup catcher, the only way that he's going to see consistent action is if Will Smith isn't there. And right now, it's because of international play in the regular season. Knock on wood, because Smith is incredibly important for this team if there's an injury that happens. So it's not a glamorous gig. And Dalton Rushing, you are going to just see him there whenever they want to give Will Smith some time off, because you saw him play the most amount of innings ever for a catcher in World Series action just a couple of months ago in October, early November. And you don't want him to, in that 10-year contract, in the first half of it, his body to deteriorate. So even last year, Will Smith, he didn't qualify to be in the batting title contention because he didn't reach that at-bat threshold with the rest and with the time off due to injury. And Freddie Freeman ended up being the leader for the Dodgers in batting average. So let's see. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Dalton Rushing, but I was thinking the exact same thing that you brought up, Travis. Is this potentially trade bait for other teams saying, hey, man, you won't use him, we will? And it would be even fair for him. I know that you might not be competing for a championship if you get traded for another team, because more than half of baseball isn't really in contending mode. So there's a good chance that you're going to go to a team that, if they need help in a catcher position, they're not fighting for a World Series right now. But at the same time, you're going to get more playing time. You're going to be able to show off what you got. And at the end of the day, Travis, for these guys, it's important for, in those years before they're free agency eligible, to prove their worth. That way, when they hit free agency, they can get a big contract.
Yeah, young players want to play. I mean, winning is important, don't get me wrong, but a young player needs to play. That's the only way you're going to make money in this league. And you and I are fans. This is their job. They need to find a way to ply their trade. And, there is not a long-term security in being a backup catcher. You have to be a good starting catcher first to be a backup catcher later. So he needs to play. I think he is a major league caliber player. It's just a question of whether or not he gets an opportunity to do it here. And I can't look inside his head, and I imagine he would love to be on the Dodgers for as long as he can because of the winning, like you mentioned. But at a young player stage, getting at bats, getting a chance to play, getting a chance to prove you belong is the number one priority. And I just not here on paper. Now, maybe look, I don't want Will Smith to get hurt. Hopefully it never happens, but catchers get hurt. Guys miss time. So, he could find himself the opening day catcher, tomorrow. It could happen that quickly, but you just never know when those at-bats are coming.
Now, James Tibbs III. He's quietly putting on together a strong spring for the boys in blue. A couple of homers, a triple, 5 RBIs. And look, he's not going to make the opening day roster, but he's showing why the Dodgers wanted him. He originally was the first-round pick. By who? The San Francisco Giants, who then moved him over to Boston on that Rafael Devers trade. And then the Dodgers got him on the Dustin May trade last year. So he is now in the LA system. He's producing. He was in Double-A last year, where he posted strong on-base numbers and has legitimate power. And Travis, this is the typical Dodgers, a guy that they just bring in whenever he's getting moved around in other places. But he was a first rounder in 2024, so not even that long ago. And the Dodgers might be able to have a little diamond in the rough over there. I know that they have top prospects in the outfield. I know that Tibbs plays outfield and first base, which are kind of log jammed right now for the Dodgers, but it's cool to see. It's like, hey, maybe he could be a late 2026 contributor, maybe a 2027 guy for the Dodgers, but that shows you the pipeline is alive and well for the boys in blue, both with their own prospects and the guys that they end up reclaiming from other teams.
Yeah, I always think that's interesting. I always like seeing the guys that the Dodgers identify from other organizations and say, yeah, we'll take him. I like, but if I were a general manager on another team and the Dodgers said, we'll take player X, in this case, Tibbs, it's like, what do they know that we don't know? You know, but what are they going to do with this guy that we haven't been able to unlock? I think, you know, like you mentioned, a player that was drafted as highly as he was, as recently as he was, I think that's a good sign. I think that means people actually want you. If you're a highly drafted player from a while ago, like instead of being in 2024 and he'd been a first round draft pick in 2020 and he's still knocking around the minor leagues, that's not a good sign, but he's still very young, just getting started in his pro career. So I think there's, you know, nothing but talent there. The question is, are there at bats in the big leagues for him? And probably not anytime soon. But like we've talked about before, stuff happens fast. So, you know, having lots of talent available to develop is always a good thing.
And this is the perfect time to show what you got to the bigwigs on the team. Spring training, preseason, show what you can do. They already got rid of 10-plus players that were non-roster invitees. Tibbs is still there. He hit a home run yesterday. The Dodgers got another win against the Rockies. Both him and rushing went yards, so that was cool to see, and it was a great way to put them here as a topic here on Locked On Dodgers, so keep your eye on them. Unlike other teams, the Dodgers, they broadcast every single spring training game that they have, at least not the split squad ones. They'll broadcast one of the two, which is great. Other teams, they don't even have radio or TV broadcast of their spring training. Dodgers fans were spoiled. We're able to see that. Shout out to Jerry Hairston, to Jeff Hartung. Yesterday, I was watching John Hartung, sorry. I was watching the post-game show. They do an awesome job as well. And now, Travis, I'm excited to keep on seeing these boys in blue as we are already in March and we got opening day right around the corner. Yeah. We got World Baseball Classic games tomorrow.
This week. I know. They're coming up. Before you know it, we're almost at the starting line. I can't wait.
Yeah, and actually you got Team USA, Team Mexico, and other teams playing in the United States against teams in spring training. Today, you got Colombia against the Pirates, Netherlands against Baltimore, Panama versus the Yankees. Which one is broadcast nationally? U.S. versus San Francisco, Detroit versus the Dominican. I mean, that's very, very cool. But the first game is Taipei versus Australia. So that's 10 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. That's just official baseball. Let's go. I'm excited about that. All right. That'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. But we're back in action tomorrow, Wednesday, as the World Baseball Classic is going to be kicking off very, very soon. We're going to be diving deep into the Dodgers that are going to be participating in this awesome tournament. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to lockedondodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. Travis, I know you're a big card guy. What about fantasy baseball?
It's not my favorite thing in the world. It's too much work, Harry. It's too much work.
I tried it one year and I was like, man, I'm very competitive. Very competitive, and I want to win. So it's tough, man, with the way that baseball works and the East Coast times. And you would just had to, like me in my past life, I loved putting baseball parlays in. Yeah. Now I can't because of work, but it was like 6 a.m. I was seeing weather reports from the cities where games are going to be played and everything. And that's how I was focused on fantasy baseball. It was too much. It was too much for me. So
your competitiveness is my laziness, right? I don't have you want me to do what? No, I'm out. No, I'm glad other people like it. I'm glad that they have a great time, but it's not for me.
For those of you that do like it, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. That way those fellas can help you out. Get the right guys in the lineup and in your rotation. All right. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.